Hey guys, I've got about 40 minutes of lunch to go. Um, I would have done this a little sooner during my lunch right now because, I had to use the facilities. So, anyway, see you see the title of the video, and you see the picture right in front of you. Yes, this is indeed a review of Star Wars: The Last Jedi, because yesterday I went and saw it. Ironically, my sister, my second oldest sister, decided to go and see it, figured this was the best opportunity. She called my mom up, she mentioned it to her, and she also mentioned the fact that, she also mentioned the fact that she remembered that I had Thursdays off. So, long story short, we end up going to Modesto and seeing it in the Brendan theaters, and we saw it in what's known as the luxury seating, basically the recliner seats with the tray that you slide in and out, kind of like push out when you want to get out and bring in when you want to sit down and relax, and then put your feet up with the reclining seats and all that. So yeah, we got to see it in, I guess you could say, luxury, comfort, whatever you want to call it. We also got to see it in real 3D, doubly 3D and all that, whatever you want to call it. And for all the mixed reactions, for all the mixed criticisms that everybody has had about Star Wars: The Last Jedi, for all it's worth, there is nothing really out of place. I mean, true, there are a few moments that you question. And there are a few scenarios where you might be like, well, maybe Mark Hamill has a point as saying this is not the Luke Skywalker he's used to being or used to portraying. And that might be all true. Because yes, there are some moments in there. There is no doubt there are moments in there that are cheesy, a little over the top, a little comedic. Like, it makes you scratch your head and wonder, why is this in Star Wars? Why is Luke having to milk some kind of female creature's tits, if you will, to get milk to drink? Why is he squirting it into a bottle for him to drink? I don't get it. And, why is that creature giving her Ray a look like, yeah, what about it? I don't understand that. Basically, what's going on with Kylo Ren? Is he totally dark? Is he beyond saving? Or is there something more? Is there something more with that general guy that was playing a rival with him? Heck, they even rivaled each other towards, at the end, if you will, when both basically said the same thing, gave the same order. Is there something more to that guy? Is Snoke being killed the way he did? Did he intend that to happen? Did he intend for that to happen? Is he totally dead? Or is it one of those cases where his death just means an evolution for his character? People, there is no doubt people are curious about it. Are curious as to what's going on. What's the point of some of these situations happening? What's the point of bringing this character in if you're just going to kill them off, or you're not going to take them seriously anymore, or what's the point of doing this or that? Some people are even saying, with Leia, when she got blasted into space, and this happens, 20 minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes in, and she spent a majority of the movie, a majority of it at times, lying in a recovery state. She's not in a coma. Well, she's kind of in a coma, but she's more in a recovery state. But yet she doesn't let Poe Dameron or any of the other fighters or even resistance members know what's going on. Know about the plan, that she's got the new admiral, I can't think of her name right now, that took over in her stead, took over during her recovery. She didn't, why didn't Leia at least let people she could trust, like Poe and BB-8, and maybe C-3PO in on her plan, in on her and her admiral's plan to, go to this planet? Why did she wait till the last minute? A lot of people have questions like that. Some people even have questions. It's like, where the heck did she get the power, the Force? Why did she always, how did she always, where did this come from? It's like, where did she suddenly have the ability to just seal herself up in a bubble, be able to gain consciousness while she's freezing in space, and have enough power, Force power that is, to guide herself back to the ship, or what remained of it, or whatever. Where did that come from? People ask questions about that. There's a lot of questions, again, like I mentioned, those scenarios being examples, of of things people want to know. And I can understand from viewing it that there might be reasons why fans would want Star Wars: The Last Jedi to be gone from continuity. It is basically like the threshold, or threshold. What is it? What's it called? The threshold of Star Trek Voyager. In case you guys don't know what that is, Threshold was an episode, I believe, in season 3 or so in one of the later seasons. Hold on for a sec. Sorry about that. But Threshold was one of the episodes in one of the mid to later seasons of Star Trek Voyager that was so WTF at what it was doing that not only did the fans want it gone from continuity, so did the actors and the creative staff, the people that wrote it, the people that directed it, behind the scenes. Everybody wanted it removed. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that the episode is removed from existence. No, the episode still gets aired as part of the Voyager reruns on television, on cable television. It still gets reran. And every time Voyager repeats its seasons, it still does. It still gets re-looped as part of the reruns of Voyager. It still does. And it's even part of the Voyager Complete Series DVD and I believe Blu-ray sets. It's of the complete series. It's part of it. I know I said complete series twice, so I apologize. But Threshold is part of the complete series DVD and Blu-ray volumes, which I'm sure has commentary on them about why, even though it's a part of the season it debuted in, nobody refers to it as being part of continuity, like it's a one-off deal. Because what happens in there is so what the blank that you question why it was made. You question why they even went out and did this. And that's the same way I'm pretty sure a lot of fans feel about, several fans, hardcore or not, feel about Last Jedi. They feel the same way. Like this is basically the threat to them. This is like the threshold, or the threshold, if you will, threshold, if you will, of Star Wars. This is basically the Star Trek Voyager episode Threshold in feature film length. Just because the fact that it feels so out of place, like it doesn't make sense, like nothing really connects. Like some people are saying you're taking 30, 40 years, basically 40 years of Star Wars lore. You're taking 40 years of Star Wars lore and you're throwing it out the window. You are just saying, screw it, we're going to do something else. It's like, it's like, why? To them, it's like, why would you do this? And for me, though, seeing it when I did, I'm going to say this. I didn't find anything wrong with it but I did see maybe where a lot of people felt like it really jumped the shark, or what's the word? They light speed the shark. They went the light speed heated the shark. Instead of jumping, they light speed hyper speeded it, whatever you want to call it. I can understand, there are certain moments and stuff, like I said, that, get fans upset. I can understand that, folks. I can. But honestly, except for a few of those moments that I could probably understand and see why fans would want this gone, and be in the same situation that Threshold of Star Trek Voyager was in, I don't see any I don't see any necessity to do that. I don't see no necessity to do that, because if you're going to do that, you might as well take out Force Awakens as well. I'm just saying. I mean, look, I can understand that Mark Hamill, will come out and say, hey, this Luke Skywalker is not the Luke Skywalker, or it's not my Luke Skywalker, it's not the one I used to portray. And that might be true because of the way he acts, and the way, the way he's portrayed and he acts and stuff. And it isn't until maybe the later part of the movie that he starts acting like the Luke Skywalker you know of. But you got to remember, some people could take something that a celebrity says and take it out of context, or try to rephrase it so it makes it look like that celebrity said such and such a thing to maybe get something out of it. Like in this case, get a movie remove a story like Last Jedi removed from continuity. So, so I can understand how some fans feel, but I really didn't see nothing wrong with it. Honestly, I didn't. Again, like with an exception of a few cheesy moments and some noticeable moments where I can understand how people feel about it, I didn't really see nothing wrong. To me, it was more of an evolution. It helped the character, it helped the characters grow the way they did. It helped them develop into something more. If Disney, let's be honest, okay? Let's look at the facts, because I think some people are not looking at the facts here. And I don't think anybody's looking at the facts here. The fact is, if this story was so bad, Disney would have not approved it. You know that for a fact. Disney would not approve it, would not have approved of it. J.J. Abrams would have said, no, we're not doing that. But Disney saw something. J.J. Abrams saw something. They saw something that said, hey, this is a good connection to Star Wars. This is a good continuation of the new trilogy. I mean, look, there's always going to be hiccups. There's no doubt about it. Did anybody like Phantom Menace? No, they felt it was the worst Star Wars movie. But were they okay with Attack of the Clones? Well, they felt it was a step up. And what about Revenge of the Sith? Everybody loved it. Yeah, it was a few moments here and there, but everybody loved it. They felt that was a more natural evolution of Star Wars, even though it was a prequel. And what about the original trilogy, the mid-trilogy, if you will now, as it's looked at? Like New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. You can't tell me that that not one of them isn't looked at as sort of a black sheep, as sort of a part of the arc that shouldn't be there, because of certain moments that were in the original showing taken out and then put back in, as well as with deleted moments that were enhanced. You get the idea. You can't tell me that if you look at the original trilogy from the 70s and early 80s, from the late 70s to early 80s, that people won't say that one of those three doesn't belong. Because I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would. The point is you're going to have a few chapters in a story that don't make sense, that feel like they don't belong, but they're there to help progress the story. They're there to help grow the story. And to me, that's what Last Jedi did. It helped progress the story. It helped make it a little bit better. Yeah, it did have a few hiccups. Don't get me wrong. But not hiccups, but it did have a few hiccups and moments that I could, like I said earlier, and I know I sound like I'm repeating myself. I do apologize. But I can understand that there are a few situations in this film that make you question whether or not it should be part of Star Wars lore. I understand that. But despite some of the negative flaws that it has some good flaws. It has its moments. And you can't tell me that towards the end of that film, during that never-ending, it felt, I will admit it, never-ending climax and finale, you can't tell me that when the moment that Admiral turned that ship around, put it into light speed, and rammed it right into the main ship of the First Order, and it was all complete silence, which they meant to have happen to make you feel that effect, to make it feel more emotional and dramatic and like, I can't believe that just happened. You can't tell me that didn't impress you. You can't tell me that didn't get you wondering what happens next. Can't tell me that was a moment that you were like, I want to see more of what I want to see more. I want to see more. I want to see what happens next. I want to see how they capitalize on this in the next movie. You can't tell me that moments like that didn't get your attention. You can't tell me that Rose nearly sacrificing herself, nearly dying, being put in the same situation at the end of this film that in a way Finn was put at the end of the first film. You can't tell me that didn't move you. You can't tell me that didn't be like, man, make you wonder, is she going to live, die? Is she going to be put in a coma for the next film? It didn't. You can't tell me it didn't make you think that and make you wonder that. Because to me, it did. Because to me, it did. It's moments like that. It's moments like that. And again, like I said, you're always going to have a hiccup in the middle of a trilogy or a force or a quartet or whatever you want to call it, a foursome. You're always going to have a hiccup in between in the eyes of some people. If not fans, you're going to have hiccups. You're going to have, story arcs that maybe to them don't make sense. But the thing is, they do make sense. But the truth is, they do make sense. And I think that's what we have to look at. We got to stop looking at the negative and look at the positive. Now, again, despite the flaws despite maybe some of the flaws it has in its cheesiness and some of the moments and stuff that I can understand why people feel it shouldn't be part of the continuity or the canon. Here's the thing. Like I said, I found nothing wrong with it. I thought it was good. I thought it was great. I thought they did a great job. I thought Rian Johnson did what he could. Good. Because you got to remember, sometimes when another director comes on board that's different from another, they're going to want to put their own personal spin. Yeah, they're going to hopefully keep it true to like the first movie it's based off of, or its previous predecessor. They're going to try to keep it true to that, but they're always going to want to put a few spins in it to make it more intriguing, maybe more lighthearted, more dark. The truth is, you're going to have directors that are going to want to put their own spin on it. And Rian Johnson did that, whether you like it or not. I mean, what do you think here's the thing. What are you going to do when he's at the helm of the next 3 Star Wars films after Episode 9? What are you going to do? Are you going to petition before then that he get replaced by someone else? Perhaps. But who are you going to get? Are you going to get JJ to commit to all 3 films and say, hey, you're the director now? Maybe. But the thing is, whether you like it or you don't, Disney has enough confidence in Rian Johnson to say, hey, we're going to give you a shot to do a whole trilogy after this one. But, besides that, the fact of the matter is, I never saw anything wrong with this movie. Despite what people may say, and yes, the cheesiness and some of the flaws and moments that I could see people being angry about, I never saw anything wrong. I enjoyed it for what it was. I loved that it helped evolve the characters. I mean, heck, Luke Skywalker, the way he confronted Kylo Ren, that's something that not even Obi-Wan, not even something Yoda has ever done. It shows how far Luke Skywalker evolved from being who he was in the original films, the midquels and the mid-trilogies, the middle stories, if you will, of New Hope, Empire, and Return. Shows you how far he had come. Because for him to be able to project himself in a realistic fashion, in an almost not just some kind of hologram like thing, but some kind of what's the word, astrological, or some kind of astral like, or asterial, whatever it's called, whatever the word is, like way. In other words, be able to spiritually project himself in a very realistic way from where he was at on the planet he was staying on. For him to do that shows you how far he's evolved. And the fact that after he does that, he's able to pass away, he's able to become one with the Force in peace, in calmness, in happiness. Being able to know that, hey, the Jedi is not over. The Jedi, the Resistance, is not dead. It is still there. For that to happen, it shows you how far these characters, it shows you how much the story has grown and the characters involved from it have grown. And that is huge. To have someone, like I say, like Luke Skywalker, be able to do that, something that Obi-Wan, something that Yoda has never been able to do. Not even his father, Anakin, has been able to do. For him to do that is unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. And it shows how far his character has come. It really does. And again, I know people don't like the idea that he was portrayed in such a way at times. Again, I know some people may not like how he was portrayed, but I think, and maybe Mark Hamill slightly didn't like how he was portrayed as Luke Skywalker, but honestly, it showed how far the character evolved. And the one thing you gotta admit about the story is it really gave you that underdog-like story. It showed you that no matter how far pinned down you are, nothing, or no matter how much of a disadvantage you have, you're always going to find a way to win. And that light will always prevail over the dark. So overall, with that said, I have to say that Star Wars Last Jedi Episode 8 is probably one of the better, but definitely is a great continuation of the story arc. There's no doubt about it in my mind. It is a great continuation. I really enjoyed it. And I can only imagine what they got planned for Episode 9. Now, I understand a lot of people are kind of concerned that, well, with Carrie Fisher passed away, how are they going to address this? My sister even wondered about it. My mom's even wondered about it. And the truth is, reports are coming out that Disney is not going to use digital restoration to bring Carrie Fisher's character back. They're not going to do that. They're not going to hire someone else on and apply makeup on them to make them look like Carrie Fisher, thus look like General Princess Leia. They're not going to do that. apparently they're just gonna leave it as is. They're gonna basically, Disney, from what it sounds like, is going to have Rian Johnson come up with some kind of scenario that's gonna explain why Leia's no longer there. And I even said this, and I know it sounds insulting to my sister, it may sound confusing to her, and it may sound confusing to my mom, but the thing is, they're gonna have no other choice. They're gonna have no other choice but to maybe show in a flashback, or at least show in some way Leia passing away or becoming one with the Force off screen. They're gonna have to do that. There is no other way for them to get around it. They're gonna have to do that. And again, I understand how some people feel about that. You know, they feel like that we shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to worry about that. But, you know, and that, you know, Disney and whoever should just say, hey, let's make a digital restoration. They're not going to do that. They're not. You know, it's like, you know, if CBS wanted to do a Dick Van Dyke Show reunion, you have two main characters of the Dick Van Dyke Show that have passed away, one most recently. And you think they would just come out and say, hey, let's use digital restoration and bring, you know, Mary Tyler Moore and Rosa whatever, and that Rosa character, the Sally Rogers girl, back? No. They wouldn't do that because they would leave it be. They wouldn't touch that. Out of respect, they wouldn't. And Disney has made it clear they're not going to do that with Carrie Fisher. So my assumption, and I'm sure a lot of people are assuming this and pretty much are coming to this conclusion, is the only way they're going to explain Carrie Fisher's absence as General Princess Leia is that she passed away off screen. She became one with the Force off screen. And that's all we're going to get. You know, will we get somewhat of an homage to the ending of Return of the Jedi, where we see her and Luke and Anakin and Obi-Wan, and maybe a digital restoration of Obi-Wan or digital remaster of the scene, and, you know, seeing all the people that have passed and become one with the Force? Are we going to see them gathered together looking down upon Rey and Finn and Rose and Poe and saying, hey, great job, well done? Maybe see Kylo Ren, and if he's restored or and he lives or whatever, see him basically be like whatever, or even see Kylo Ren with the alongside them as part of the Force. You know, will we get something like that? Probably, but it all depends. But the only way Carrie would be brought back is the same way we saw her. We saw in the Last Jedi when R2-D2 showed that archival footage to Luke. That's probably the only way we're going to see her in some way. So overall, I know this went long and I do apologize, but honestly, I had to talk about it. I had to get things off my chest. But overall, my thoughts, like I said throughout, is I think this is a good continuation. Yes, I can see where some of the moments and flaws that people feel that you know, should basically remove this from continuity. I could see and notice where those are. But overall, I thought it was good. I mean, you know, not everybody's gonna get a perfect film, and like I said, you're gonna get a hit if you got a series of franchises, or you got a franchise series of films out there. Of course, you're gonna get a hiccup once in a while. I mean, sure, you're gonna get a hiccup once in a while, and heck, look at X-Men. X-Men Last Stand was a big hiccup. You can't catch my drift? And they had to use, what was it? They had to use Days of Future Past to retcon it. The point is, like I said, you're not going to get perfection all the time. You're not going to get a perfect movie or continuation all the time. The point is, you just got to go with the flow. And I truly believe we may have had a bump in the road here. We may have gotten a bump in the road here, but I think that bump's going to lead to a greater payoff with Episode 9. So, overall, I do recommend seeing Star Wars Last Jedi Episode 8. And that's all I'm going to say on it. I got to go back inside, try to get me some lunch real quickly. and I will talk to y'all later. God bless. Take care. I'm out.